The first day of school has come and gone, but the anxiety your kids may be feeling probably has not. According to Children's Mental Health Ontario, half of Ontario parents are concerned about their child's anxiety, and 1/3 of Ontario parents say their children miss school because of it. Joining us on Parenting Playbook to discuss this issue is child and youth therapist Tania DaSilva. Welcome, Tania.
Thank you, Diane.
All right, let's begin with how anxiety presents itself. I know with my little guy it was kind of obvious because he just kept telling me how nervous he was, and then he even woke up in the middle of the night. But I guess in some cases it's not always as obvious.
It's not, and it's interesting. So the waking up in the middle of the night, that is one of the factors to look for. So if there is sleep disturbances, if you're noticing this morning that they're already complaining of tummy aches, saying they're not feeling well, that's typically something to look out for. If there is that refusal, I don't want to go to school, or that trying to avoid, can I go in later, definitely another sign. As well as, just saying it. If you're noticing that negative voice or that critical voice in their beliefs or expectations of how the day is going to go, then those are all signs to look out for.
All right, so if they start showing these signs, what is the first thing we should do?
So typically, and again, we've been going over this at the clinic just leading up to school, but we always ask that parents kind of implement a worry period. So sit, make sure that it's undisturbed time where you're focusing on what are you worried about, and you're actually validating whatever their concerns are, right? So a lot of the times we invalidate by being like, oh, it's nothing to worry about, don't worry about it. That actually makes kids close up and feel like, oh, I shouldn't be worrying. So you want to make sure that you're giving them that space to express it.
Or possibly that they think something's wrong with them. If you're saying, don't worry about it, you shouldn't be worried about this. They're like, oh, well, what's wrong with me?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens. So making sure that you're discussing it and also validating, just even telling them, it's okay, or giving them scenarios where you felt, anxiety about work or something else. So it normalizes the whole thing.
Okay. Once you do that, actually, no, I want to ask you about age groups. Is there an age group that is more prone to anxiety, or is it widespread?
Honestly, I think it's widespread. I see it in all ages. It could be elementary to high school to university. It does present a little bit differently. So if they're a little younger, sometimes they don't have that emotional language. So it's interesting, actually, you said your son was like, I'm nervous. So that's actually really good. A lot of the times they can't really make that mind-body connection. So in younger kids, they show it through behaviors. So the tantrums, the crying, the tummy aches, the sleep disturbances. Older kids, they do have that emotional language, so you'll see it more in that critical voice or negative self-talk. Okay.
Now, I often hear, I have friends whose kids are quite young, and I also have friends whose kids started university, and it's funny, the parents also took on that anxiety. They were telling me that they weren't sleeping at night because they were nervous for their kids.
Yeah, we see that all the time, and we always tell parents to, again, practice their own self-awareness. Like, what are you portraying? What are you role modeling for your child? So even practicing those calming strategies along with their child. Like, parents, of course, you're going to get nervous. It's your baby. They're going to school. So you want to make sure that you're checking your own emotions and showing them it's okay. This is how we're going to work through it. This is how mom or dad are working through their worries about, your first day or going back to work.
And I guess if you don't, what is your biggest concern if you don't treat and see the red flags that they are feeling anxious? What can we see down the road? I mentioned in the intro that a third of parents say their kids miss school because of it.
Well, the problem with that is, and again, we've had this conversation all week, it reinforces the anxiety, right? So if you don't deal with it now, and if you're not working through it right from the beginning, it's reinforcing it, and it's actually strengthening it, which makes it harder to kind of bounce back from it down the line.
Okay. All right. Tania DaSilva, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to discuss on Parenting Playbook, email me at carolynmckenzie@globalnews.ca. We're going to take a short break here on The Morning Show. Stay with us.